units. Faculty, administrators, students, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Higher education is among the vital links in the chain of regional development. Quality education can precipitate a domino effect towards economic growth. As we are catapulted into the waves of ASEAN 2015, higher education has become a joint venture, an interplay of factors and forces that can make or break it. Thus, the Regional Development Council, through the Commission on Higher Education Regional Office 5 and the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education, had organized this Regional Higher Education Summit on the theme 2013 and beyond, engaging higher education towards sustainable and inclusive growth in the Bicol region. Without much delay, let us now begin this opening ceremonies through an entrance of colors by the Bicol University ROTC. which calls for BFHE support to CHED. I am referring to none other than the President of Bicol Foundation for Higher Education and Bicol University, Dr. Faye Leia Patria M. Lauray.
Inyong lahat, to my left, to my right, and to the center. You all look so beautiful this morning. And I would like to welcome in our midst. She loves Bicol very much, and she never fails to come whenever we sound the call. Let's all warmly welcome Dr. Patricia B. Licuanan, Chairperson, Commission on Higher Education. Since 2 years ago, this agency had been an active partner of higher education in Bicol. Let's all welcome the President of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Dr. Antonio Calao. And to my partners, Dr. Freddy Bernal of CHED, from DepEd, Director Abside, to Dr. Bares of TESDA, Director Blandy of DILG, to all my colleagues in higher education, presidents, deans, directors, and Madam Chair, we have invited up to the level of department chairpersons of the HEIs and their counterparts in TESDA and the community colleges, as well as superintendents and principals from the Department of Education. To all the participants, my fellow presidents and administrators in the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education, my warm welcome. We take pride in making this summit. However, the activities before this summit happened were equally important. And we are very glad to say that we did our tasks from the community colleges, from the tech-voc institutions, from the private schools, from the state universities and colleges, and our counterpart from the DepEd. For more than 3 months, we labored and enjoyed the work all the way to November 14. And on the way from the airport, I was sharing to Dr. Licuanan that yesterday, the state universities and colleges in Region 5 made history. The 9 SUCs convened together for the first time the joint meeting of their respective administrative councils. And we said, this is good, and we will do it again at least once a year. So for the work that we have done, I think we deserve a big round of applause. This summit is coming at a time when the higher education is facing interesting times. I don't want even to call it challenge because you might find it too difficult to face. I will simply say interesting developments. We have the educational reform, which we call the K-12, which will impact on the higher education come school year 2017. There is the ASEAN 2015, asking for globally competitive graduates among our higher education schools. There is the typology and CMO number 46, where everybody now has to pursue quality assurance, not necessarily from external, but creating internal stimulus within our institutions to make sure that quality assurance is observed from without and within our institutions and schools. We have the training of many leaders, especially in state universities and colleges. And there is that big support coming from the Pinoy administration with the Philippine Higher Education Roadmap. So friends, we could not refuse but be engaged. And that engagement does not call upon on each of us individually. Horizontally, it should be done. It should be done as a group. And we say, we move as one in Bicol. We face these challenges holding hands. And that is what this summit is all about. Friends, we need to sacrifice individual institutional flexibilities for the greater good of the region. So friends, I call upon each one of you to work together as one. With this summit, it will not be the end, but simply the beginning. And in that spirit, I say thanks to everybody that made today possible. To one and all, welcome.
Thank you, President Lauraya, for the engaging welcome remarks. The next to welcome us is an esteemed City Councilor of Legazpi City, whose humility and lightheartedness are enough to set the tone of this gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all give way to Attorney Melissa Apadeza, City Councilor, Legazpi City.
Joseph Aga po sa Satuyaga Boss. First, allow me to extend the apology of the good city mayor for his in Manila right now. And the good vice mayor is in Tacloban, helping our co-Filipinos in Tacloban in some areas. So, just earlier, I was tasked to be here with you and deliver the message of the city mayor. And I promise I won't increase or reduce the message of the city mayor. Okay? So allow me first to greet and acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests. To start with, Honorable Licuanan, of the CHED. And of course, we have Dr. Bernal and Dr. Calo. And of course, my mentor at Bicol University, Dr. Faye Lauraya. And to all of you who are here, to the Bicol region, Bicol region. So, good morning sa atin lahat. Today, most people, particularly parents, would say that education is costly. But try being uneducated, and it will prove to be more costly. We know, however, that education is life-changing, shown by where education has brought important personalities today. Education has also been other people's passport to fame and fortune. More importantly, education moves mankind and the world to progress and betterment. The good news is that the Philippines is back in the map of the top universities in Asia. It is not far-fetched that we will regain our inclusion to the top 300 in the world. With the current innovation in our education system, particularly the K-12 program, we will be able at par with other educational systems globally. But as in any undertakings, if we are to sustain our educational progress, we have to continue to innovate, plan, develop strategies and programs, plus the needed legislative policies to sustain our initiatives. The summit, therefore, is timely towards improving the quality of education for our people. As far as the region is concerned, we have maintained our high-level performance as evidenced by our graduates the top licensure exams. It will be a waste if the gains we made in education is not translated towards sustainable and innovative growth for our region and the people. As far as the city government is concerned, we devote a great amount of efforts and resources to education as one of the key areas of our governance. We have invested in strengthening and improving the learning capacity of our students and teaching proficiency of our mentors. We are all aware of the premium placed by Filipinos in education. Parents would do anything to see their children through the college as their hope for improving family life. I am optimistic that this summit will be able to come up with ways making the pursuit of education accessible to the poor and the marginalized Filipinos. Although I mentioned that I will not be adding to the message of the city mayor, but it is my privilege to be with you this morning because me, myself, once an educator and a college professor, but it so happened that because of the schedule required, I have to decline with my teaching profession. But I believe that really in your hands will really give more for our students and to the people that need your guidance. Okay? On behalf of the people of Legazpi, we happily welcome you to our city fun and adventure and wish you all a productive and successful gathering. On behalf of the city mayor and the rest of the people of Legazpi, salamat, welcome to all of you, and mabuhay po kayo lahat.
Before we continue, to Attorney Romeo C. Escandor, Director of NEDA 5 and Vice Chair of the Regional Development Council, wherever you are, in the four corners of this hall, please come up the stage. Thank you for the information. The flight of the person we are looking for has been redirected to Cebu. Okay. The Development Academy of the Philippines is among the prized resources of this regional higher education summit. What does it have to say to us Bicolanos with respect to this undertaking? Chief Executive Officer and President of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Dr. Antonio D. Calao Jr. has a message to impart to us.
Maraming salamat, Jean. Chairperson Patricia Licuanan, Dr. Faye Lea Lauraya, Pangulo po ng Bicol University. And I think you're also the President of the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education. Dr. Freddy Bernal, ang Regional Director po ng CHED dito sa region na to. Kung saan po siya naroon ngayon, si Attorney Escandor. Dito kasi yung pangalan niya. And of course, Attorney Melissa Abadesa, ang City Councilor ng Legazpi City, representing the Mayor of Legazpi. Mga regional directors ng iba't ibang sangay ng pamahalaan na nandito ngayon, mga pangulo, dekano, mga opisyalis ng iba't ibang educational institutions, pribado at publiko na nandito po rin ngayon, guests, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, marahay na adlaw sa Indogros. May prepared speech ako, pero sabi ni Dr. Lauroya, mas maganda daw to talk from the heart. Kaya lang, yung gumawa ng speech, nandito eh. So medyo paghahaluin ko na lang with the permission of the one who made the speech. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the opening of this forum on higher education here in the Bicol region, hosted by the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education, the Commission on Higher Education, particularly Region 5, and the National Economic and Development Authority, particularly also of Region 5. Marahil magtataka kayo, bakit nandito yung Development Academy of the Philippines? Okay? Uy, may picture pala. Yan, nawala ko niya ako. Hindi po disbursement acceleration program. Okay? Kasi, I've been, you know, that thing that happened, sumikat nga kami, pero, you know, pati okay lang yung negative kasi at least publicity pa rin yun. At anyway, ang tanong, bakit po kami nandito ngayon? We're 40 years old. NEDA is also 40 years old. Tama po? 40 years old. And all these years, we have been true to our mandate. DAP has furthered its efforts on national development in many ways. Our mandate is to assist in the country's development initiatives in two ways, or in several ways. First, as a catalyst of change through research and think tanking. Second, as a capacity builder, so that the people who are supposed to do the change are trained and educated. And third, as a technical resource institution of the Philippine government through consulting. Noong tinatagpo kami in 1973, the primary objective of the AIP was to train the Career Executive Service Officers, yung SESO. Yun po yung prime directive sa amin. We could have been called the Career Executive Service Institute or Academy. We could have been called the Civil Service Academy, which there is right now. In fact, nung natatag kami ng June of 1973, 1976, tinatag yung Civil Service Academy. And DAP is a member of the board of that academy. Pero, bakit Development Academy of the Philippines? Most of you have gone abroad. Have you heard of the Development Academy of the United States? Have you heard the Development Academy of Singapore, Indonesia, Japan? Name the country. Wala ko kayo maririnig na Development Academy of whatever country it is. Dito lang po sa Pilipinas, merong Development Academy of the Philippines. The key word is development. Development. And when you talk about development, it means progress. It means something new. It means moving from one point of history to another point in history. One point in time to another point in time. From point 0 to point 10. From 2013 to 2015. Yun po yung tinasabing development. And when you talk about development, it means progress. It means changes. It means reforms. If you don't have changes and reforms, there's no development, there's no movement. But when you talk about changes, alam natin na there is always resistance to change. Because we people are comfortable in our respective comfort zones. Right? So, the role of DAP in this entire thing, in fact, kami mismo sa DAP, bakit nga ba kami tinawag na DAP? So, after 40 years, luminaw po yung bakit nga ba. Okay. So, kung change yung pinag-uusapan, kung reform yung pinag-uusapan, ibig sabihin, merong bago. So, ang pangunahing layunin ng DAP ay to generate as many ideas on development, on good governance, on productivity as possible. So, formulating, generating new, innovative, wild, value-adding, creative ideas. And we do that through what we call research. Familiar kayo ron, because educational institutions have research. But sa educational institutions, these are what you call academic research. In the case of the AP, it is strategic research, it is applied research, it is action-oriented research. So the research that you do, we convert into what we call programmatic, yung pwedeng gawin kaagad, action-oriented, na may strategic direction. So yun po yung first role ng DAP. Generation of research, generation of ideas. Now, hindi po sapat na may idea. Tanong, sino ang gagawa? Sino ang mag-i-introduce? Sino mag-i-implement yung idea? Tao, people, institutions, organizations like each of us. And that's where the second and third role of the AP comes into the picture. We capacitate individuals and organizations so that they can lead this movement for change. So that's where our training and educational role comes into the picture. Now, is it enough to have ideas and people to do these ideas? Hindi pa rin. Kasi after training, after education, pagbalik natin sa ating organisasyon, nandun pa rin yung sistema. Nandun pa rin yung environment na hindi nag-aalaw o nagiging hindrance para magbago. Nandun yung boss nyo, nandun yung sistemang hindi mo maintindihan, nandun lahat ng balakid. So, the fourth role of the AP comes into the picture, and that is hand-holding, helping, providing technical assistance through consultancy. That's the fourth role of the AP. So, idea, capacitating, training, education, hand-holding, consulting. Pero para saan? Yun nga, yung pangalan namin, Development Academy of the Philippines. So, pagkatapos ko po maipaliwanag sa inyo kung ano yung DAP, ano naman yung role namin dito? Nabanggit na kanina ni Faye that together with CHED, the PASO, yung Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges, at saka ang Bicol University, we are partners in crime. Crime meaning to improve quality education here in our country. We're helping CHED, we're helping PASO, and we're helping educational institutions like Bicol University. Doon sa kanilang tinatawag na Executive Development Program, EDPS, for state universities. Because the idea of improving quality of education has many forms. Kung nabanggit yung FAIR, yung Philippine Higher Education Roadmap, that's an idea. But who will implement the idea? SUCs and some other HTIs. So, doon po kami, partner in crime. Now, so as I said, in pursuing this mandate, we have assisted in shaping government policies. Among them, the policies for the public and private education sector, crafting innovative development programs, and building a culture of cooperation among higher education institutions, especially those coming from the public sector. But let me digress a little bit on that. Bukod dun po sa pag-involve namin sa higher education, from day one, nabanggit ko na sa inyo yung CESOS, we were also involved in developing foreign service officers through the Career Foreign Service Development Program, which is now an institution in itself, the Foreign Service Institute of the Department of Foreign Affairs. We were involved in the development of what you call integrated areas, integrated area development, regional development, community development, and in the 70s it became the Ministry of Human Settlements. I think you're familiar with that, those of you who are younger than me. Human Settlements. And from Human Settlements, napanganak po yung Technology Resource Center, TRC, napanganak yung Pag-ibig, napanganak yung Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board, yung HUDCC, and all those things that are still National Housing Authority, lahat po yung kakabit ng IAA na yun at saka rural din. From our Todo Foreshore Development Project, nanganak po yung Metro Manila Development Authority. Yung Subic Bay, yung aming Olongapo Development Plan for Richard Gordon at the time, is now the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. Yung pong medium scale program namin is now the Bureau of Small Scale Industry in the Department of Trade and Industry. So, yung aming Social Indicators Project with Dr. Mahar Malahas is now the Social Weather Station, SWS. So you can almost identify some of these institutions that were what you call sons and daughters of DAP. So it started with an idea, became a program, it became a project, now it's an institution. Now, we're also helping CHED and the higher educational institutions so look at a possible academy for higher education. We don't know the name yet. We're also looking at the idea of providing a career system. If the national government has a CESO, probably a CESO type of career system could also be looked into for higher education. So that's what I mean by being partners in crime with CHED and PASU. So our presence here today reaffirms the DAP's continued commitment to the development of higher education in the Philippines. We are especially happy to support the Bicol region in particular in its convergence initiatives in the education sector in particular. Higher education institutions, particularly public higher education, do not exist in a vacuum. You face a challenge to maximize resources in order to produce quality outcomes that will ultimately benefit the community and the nation. 4 years ago, Secretary Butchabat of DBM and Chairman of Civil Service, hindi nga lang nakadalo si Secretary Abad, but he sent one of his other secretaries and myself. We were privileged to go to Canada to study, as a study mission, together with some other countries, to look into the Canadian form of government. Okay? Dito po sa atin, what did we see there? And it's now being implemented here in the Philippines, little by little. What did we see there? Doon po sa Canada, yung directory nila, yung telephone directory, hindi nyo makikita doon yung Commission on Higher Education nila. Hindi nyo makikita doon yung NEDA nila. Hindi nyo makikita doon yung State University nila. You know what you will see? It's the service that these institutions provide. So when you need a birth certificate, look at the telephone directory and there's letter B, birth certificate. If you need a driver's license, look at letter D and there's a driver's license. Naka-indicate doon yung service at may telephone number. And andun yung institusyon. Dito sa atin, institutional ang directory. Of course, they also have a version where you have institutions. But if you want service, look at the service guide. And then, what did we see there? Wala akong makikita ng mukha ng itong project na to ay kay Congressman whoever. Oh, no, excuse me, wala po ibig sabihin ito. It's not personality, yung pong ibig sabihin. It is, and I think we're doing that now. Wala na ako nakikita public works project na may mukha ng Secretary of Public Works o ng mukha ng Presidente ng Pilipinas. Meron pa ba ako? Meron pa kayo nakikita? Wala na eh. So, unti-unti, nagagawa natin. Now, doon po, modern na sila. As yung pong first floor ng lahat ng public buildings, maging yan man ay barangay hall nila, provincial capital, municipal or city hall, or yung first floor ng kanilang NEDA, o first floor ng CHED nila doon. Yung first floor, lahat ng serbisyong kailangan ng mamamayan, pwede mo makuha doon, one-stop shop. So, kung kailangan mo birth certificate, punta ka sa barangay hall, makukuha mo yun doon. Punta ka sa Ministry of Health, makukuha mo yun doon. Punta ka sa Department of Ministry of Foreign Affairs sila, makukuha mo yun doon. Yung first floor. Tapos, they're so modern that may ATM na sila sa mga malls. Pipindot ka and you can get the service. Of course, not all government service can be available through the ATM machine or through the first floor. But the idea of the citizen not knowing who is giving the service is there. So regardless of whether you are a barangay, a municipality, a city, a province, a region, kanila kasi federal, national, they don't know that. The citizen doesn't know that. What they know is there is one face of government. One face of government. So, and then, ito pa isang natutunan namin doon. Yung tinatawag na seamless, kanina binanggit ni Faye, horizontal. Seamless, citizen-centric, horizontal governance. That's what we saw there. What does it mean? Seamless, ibig sabihin, hindi silos. You know what the silo is? We are organized here that way. NEDA, DA, DAR, Bicol Yun, etc. Diba? Doon, ganito. Seamless siya. Horizontal governance. As I said, there is no barangay. There is no municipality. Meron, pero servisyo pinag-uusapan. Yun, seamless. And bakit citizen-centric? Kasi, kung ano yung inaasahan ni Juan de la Cruz nila doon, yung kayo ang boss ko, yung Presidente Aquino yun, ginagawa nila doon. Citizen-centric. Meaning, kung ano yung, halimbawa, nagsusurvey sila every 5 years. Kung yung land transportation office nila, ngayon ay 5 days bago makuha, halimbawa, yung driver's license. At yung survey says na yung mamamayan willing to get the driver's license pumila only in, let's say, 1/2 hour or 15 minutes. You know what they did? They cut the red tape from 5 days to the expectation of the citizen. Kaya citizen-centric, citizen-focused. So therefore, hindi nangyayari doon sa Canada yung nangyari sa SSS na may bonus, yung mga nasa taas at opisyalis, tapos ang haba ng pila doon sa baba ng nag-a-avail ng service. Kasi may disconnect. Doon hindi. Yung survey, ang layunin ng ahensya ay ipatupad, i-produce, gawin yung expectation ng boss, yung kayo, boss ko. Tayo, meron tayong anti-red tape law. Ang layunin ng anti-red tape law ay precisely to cut the red tape to what is expected by the citizen. So yun po yung seamless. Yun po yung citizen-centric. Yung sinasabi naman horizontal governance, nangyayari naman po ngayon yan. And there are many forms of that. Halimbawa, dun sa CESDP, yung Career Executive Service, dati, DIPDAP lang yun at saka yung CES Board. Alam niyo ba ngayon, yung Interagency Steering Committee yun, headed by NEDA, DBM, andun ang Civil Service Commission, nandun ang CES Board, at nandun ang Department of Finance. Interagency, at yung DAP, yung implementor. O dito, sa Executive Development Program for SUCs, interagency din kami ng CHED, saka ng private pasok. Interagency. Doon sa, alam niyo yung performance-based bonus, di ba yung PBB? Galing yun sa results-based performance management system. Alam niyo bang interagency din yun? Results, andun ang Office of the President, nandun ang COA, nandun ang Office of the Ombudsman, nandun ang Civil Service, yung Government Commission for Governance Commission for Government Corporations, nandun yung CHED. Yung CHED ang nagpo-provide naman ng oversight para sa mga SUCs and HCIs. They meet regularly in DBM to look at the results-based performance system of government. At ang resulta po nun, we will not receive the bonus if we don't perform and deliver the results. Diba? Naanda tayo ultimately. So, that's what I mean. That Canadian experience is now being implemented in the Philippine government using time-tested private sector productivity and quality tools and techniques like 5S, quality circles, balance scorecard, TQM, name it, effective sa private sector. Because sa kanila, bottom line, kumita ba sila? Sa atin sa gobyerno, results means delivery of service. Iba lang. Ngayon, ini-implement na yan sa government system. Dati, it used to be industrial productivity, it used to be agricultural productivity, it used to be labor productivity, it used to be service sector productivity. Now, it's public sector productivity. Bakit public sector productivity? Because it is the government, it is the public sector that provides the conducive environment for industry, for the agricultural sector, for the labor sector, for the SMEs to do their role in development. Government ang nagpapagawa ng daan. Government yung sumasagot pag may problema. And if government is not productive, then may hindrance sa development. So yun po yung lesson sa Canada. Ba't ko po nabanggit yun? The value of converging, that is the word. But some of us heard about amalgamation, right? May mga SUCs, narinig yung amalgamation. Pero there are many forms of amalgamation. Andyan yung convergence, nandyan yung interagency, Yung ginawa ninyo recently, ano yung ginawa yung admin council? That is a direction towards talking to each other. That's the most, that's what we call horizontal governance. So, that's it. Now, your co-Bicolanos, the great J.C. Robredo, noted that good governance cannot be achieved without people empowerment. As you reflect and dialogue as one Bicol region for the development of higher education, may you always keep in mind the betterment, the development of your kababayans, ensuring that they become mahusay at matino, members of local and national communities. Again, I thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you this morning. May you have a fruitful discussion ahead of you as you assess. These are 3 A's. Huwag niyo kalimutan yung 3 A's. As you assess, agree, and act to have a better quality education for regional and national sustainable, inclusive development so that we can make today better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Dr. Calao, for the comprehensive discussion. Thank you for visiting the home of Sili, Pilishake, and the majestic Mayon volcano. The success of this summit is in far greater measure dependent on the participation and attendance of cooperative souls who have come for this gathering. Dr. Belendi Azul, Chief Education Program Specialist of CHEDRO 5, shall introduce the participants. A round of applause, please.
It is my privilege to present participants in this Regional Higher Education Summit. Please stand as I call your agency or office. From the Department of Education, we have 29. It is composed of participants from DepEd are composed of the regional office headed by Dr. Ramon Fiel Absede, represented by the Education Supervisors in Secondary Education Division, Elementary Education Division, the Alternative Learning System Division, and the NEAP Bicol. We also have the Provincial and City Division Offices, represented by the Schools Division Superintendents, Assistant Schools Division Superintendents, and Education Program Specialists, and we also have the principals and representatives of private secondary schools. There are 29 from the DepEd. Thank you very much, friends from DepEd, and we have the representatives or participants from the TESDA. TESDA office is headed by the Regional Director, Dr. Conrado P. G. Bares. With him are his staff in the regional office and the provincial directors, TBI's principals, and other officials and representatives of TESDA 5. Thank you very much, friends from TESDA. From the Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILT, there are 47 of them. The ILG is headed by the Regional Director, Dr. Blandino Maceda, his staff from the regional office. We have also the local government units, the municipal and city mayors, who are chairmen of the Board of Trustees of the respective community colleges. Other officials of the LGUs, please stand, everybody.
Please rise. Okay. Thank you very much. We have from NEDA. NEDA is headed by Attorney Romeo Escandor. And he is the co-chair of the steering committee of this event and also the vice chair of the Regional Development Council. With him are the 8 able staff documenters of this activity. Thank you very much, friends. From the Commission on Higher Education, may I present the participants from SEIs, composed of the presidents, vice presidents, deans, registrars, and faculty members. May I call you by group na lang para... Okay, by province. Later I will call you by group. From Camarines Norte, from the north. Okay. Thank you very much. Camarines Sur, including Naga City, Iriga City. Thank you. From Albay, including Ligao City, Legazpi City, and Tabaco City. Okay, thank you very much. From Sorsogon and Sorsogon City. Okay, thank you. From Masbate and Masbate City. And Catanduanes, soon to be city. Okay, I would like to call another grouping. SEIs from local colleges. We have 16 local colleges. Representatives of 16 local colleges. May I see you? Community colleges. Okay. From private higher education institutions. Nasaan kayo mga PSIs? Okay. Thank you very much. And SUCS, state universities and colleges. Okay, thank you very much. May I also acknowledge the presence of other guests not mentioned in the prayer of the governor. Yes. Yes, Alba is the only province with an office of education department. And guests from media. Do we have? Okay, welcome to this activity. Okay, to let you know how many are we in this room, we are now 491.
Thank you, Dr. Azul. Before we get on with this program, may I first acknowledge the man who still shines, even if he has left the Commission on Higher Education Regional Office 5. Our former Regional Director, Dr. Dominador P. Peralta Jr. Sir. Okay. There is a slight change in our program. We shall just have the intermission number after the keynote speech. To help us get our bearings for this summit, we have with us today the man who directs and regulates the operations of CHED Regional Office 5. As he was able to press on in the face of setbacks and odds, especially those pertaining to preparations for this summit, he can give us a clear statement of purpose and overview of the summit. He will also introduce to us the mother of the Commission on Higher Education, who comforts the afflicted and afflicts the comfortable. Dr. Freddie T. Bernal, Regional Director of CHED 5, for the statement of purpose, overview of the summit, and introduction of the keynote speaker. Warm applause, please.
Before I proceed, may I request everyone to take a moment of silence to pray and remember the victims of Yolanda. The CHED Regional Office 5 and the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education will be spearheading a simultaneous fun run in the 6 provinces of the region, a date still to be reconciled, dubbed as Dalagan Tabang sa mga Biktima ni Yolanda. It will be participated in by administrators, faculty and personnel, students and alumni of higher education institutions, public and private. The organizing committee per province will make out the road of the fun run, and this will be issued through a CHED regional memorandum addressed to the president, heads of public and private higher education institutions. Now for my task. To all the officials, guests, participants in this Regional Higher Education Summit, magandang aldaw sa inyo ka, boss. May Tagalog pala sa pag-ibig. Tagantandaan ko na ako, ano? Diyos mayad na aga sa inyo ka, boss. Each region was expected to have a regional development plan in consonance with the Philippine Development Plan under the Aquino administration and in support of the Millennium Development Goals. As what the Honorable Cayetano Paderanga, the Secretary of Socio-Economic Planning, stated, the RDP represents the aspirations of Filipinos in different areas of the country. Policies, programs, and projects, hence, are supposed to be aligned with the Regional Development Plan. It is the vision of the Regional Development Plan from 2011 to 2016 for the Bicol region to be the country's most livable region in 2020. The major development goals are providing the basic needs of Bicolanos, ensuring economic growth, improving infrastructure, and attaining sustainable development. All the stakeholders are called upon to help and provide full support and cooperation in the implementation of the plan. Specifically, the local government units, the national line agencies, the regional institutions, private sectors, and civil society are enjoined to harmonize their plans, programs, and activities with the Regional Development Plan. Basic needs for Bicolanos are identified in the areas of education, health, housing, and social welfare. In the field of education, our RDP states that every Bicolano has the right to education. The goal is to produce good and productive citizens. The plan aims to provide access to quality education for all Bicolanos and to improve instructional outcomes in all levels. In the effort to make higher education in Region 5 more responsive to the manpower needs of the region and to fast-track the realization of the goals in the RDP for sustainable and inclusive growth, RDC Resolution number 54, series of 2012, approving the conduct of a higher education summit, was approved wherein CHED was tasked to coordinate the conduct of the summit. This will be a venue for plenary sessions and workshops geared towards the K-12 program the enrichment of technical vocational courses, concerns of local colleges in the region, and reforms in higher education. In particular, this two-day occasion aims to, number one, determine both present and emerging issues and concerns for the higher education system, which affect higher education institutions in Region 5. Second, identify, align, adopt, and implement plans, policies, programs, and strategies to strengthen capabilities of its EIs so that they become responsive to their role in the regional development plan. Third, generate proposals, recommendations, resolutions, and pledges of commitment addressed to authorities concerned to improve the higher education system in support of the RTP. As to the overview, we shall devote the first few hours, of course, listening to the prominent officials in our society, namely our keynote speaker. We have here the Honorable Chairperson, Patricia Lipuanan, and our competent resource persons for such topics as Vision for Bicol, the Bicol Regional Development Plan, Bicol Competitiveness in the Higher Education Leadership Institution, its role in the Philippine Higher Education Roadmap. Afterwards, the big group shall then break out into small groups for the workshop parallel sessions per cluster, namely the basic education cluster, the tech book cluster, the local college cluster, and the higher education cluster. In the parallel sessions, which are basically structured discussions, the highlights of the pre-summit per cluster shall be presented for some inputs, comments, and changes, if need be. In the original program, we are supposed to have a fellowship this evening, dubbed as Governor's Night, sponsored by the Office of Albay Governor. However, as we are all aware of the tragic and depressing current condition of our fellow Filipinos in Tacloban and in the Visayas, our governor decided otherwise, that instead of spending much for our fellowship tonight, the fund will just be used to help the victims of the Super Typhoon Yolanda. Hence, we shall dispense with the fellowship of Governor's Night. Anyhow, this will work to our advantage so that we will be rested for tomorrow morning, which will be the highlight of the summit, that is the plenary session. It will be a presentation of technical papers, resolutions, and recommendations per cluster, for policy decisions and possible adoption by the Regional Development Council and the line agencies concerned, including the concerns of every higher education institution. It will be followed by a pledge of commitment. Alam niyo, makakatakas kayo. You will manunumpa kayo. You will write something in the, later on. And the ceremonial signing of this covenant, there will be covenant for regional higher education reform by heads and or representatives of educational institutions and line agencies. In response to this, there will be an acceptance speech by the Honorable Governor of Albay and the RDC Chair on behalf of the Regional Development Council. Tomorrow afternoon, we shall then be entertained with a cultural presentation of the Aquinas University Center for Culture and the Arts. Subsequently, one or two participants will deliver their impression of the summit. To show our gratitude to the commendation of all those who work hard for this Regional Higher Education Summit, we shall also be awarding or recognizing the different individuals and committees. The finale will be the evaluation of the summit, wherein all feedback, comments, and recommendations can be taken note by the documentation committee. Lastly, the Regional Higher Education Summit formally and officially ends through a closing message and the exit of honors. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker is a social psychologist, educator, and women's rights activist. Her teaching, research, and practice in social psychology focus on human factors in the national development process, education and educational reform, social issues, human resource development, and gender issues. She holds an MA in psychology from Cornell University and a PhD in social psychology from the Pennsylvania State University. She has been professor and chair of the Department of Psychology and academic vice president of the Ateneo de Manila University, and was the immediate past president of Miriam College, an educational institution aggressively committed to social justice, a culture of peace, environmental sustainability, and gender equality, and empowerment of women. As a psychologist and educator, our speaker has played important leadership roles in a wide range of organizations. She has been president of the Psychological Association of the Philippines and chair of the Philippine Social Science Council, the Technical Panel of Humanities, Social Sciences, and Communication of the Commission on Higher Education, the Philippine Council of NGO Certification, and the Executive Council of the Consortium of Women's Colleges. She served as Vice President of the Catholic Association of the Philippines and board member of the Philippine Accrediting Association of Schools, Colleges, and Universities. She has been member of the board of directors of several educational institutions and editor-in-chief of the Philippine Journal of Education, a magazine for teachers. She has served as president of the Association of Women Presidents and Chancellors of Private Colleges and Universities. Her work on women's issues, including serving as chairperson of the National Commission on the Role of Philippine Women, now the Philippine Commission on Women. It was during her term that the groundbreaking Philippine Development Plan for Women was launched. She was the chair of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women as the preparatory commission for the UN 4th World Conference on Women held in Beijing, China in 1995. At the conference, she chaired the main committee, which negotiated the Beijing Platform for Action. She has served as chairperson of the ASEAN Women Program, UNESCO Philippine Focal Point for Women, member and chair of the External Forum on Gender Development of the Asian Development Bank, board member of the Center for Asia-Pacific Women in Politics. She has headed the regional women's NGO network, such as the Asia-Pacific Women's Watch and Southeast Asia Women's Watch, which are involved in advocacy for and monitoring of the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action, and which work for the reaffirmation of the platform at its reviews. She chaired the Asia-Pacific NGO Forum in Beijing +10, and was convener of the Asia-Pacific NGO Forum in Beijing +15. Her vast experience and involvement in women's issues also includes serving as UNIFEM advisor to the Ministry of Women's Affairs of Afghanistan, helping this new ministry get organized and define its role in post-Taliban Afghanistan. She is a member of the Global Council of the International Museum of Women in San Francisco. As an educator, her day-to-day work involves increasing awareness among education practitioners, as well as students, parents, and the community of the issues around education and education reform, particularly the education of women, developing policies and programs at all levels, from early childhood to university to lifelong education in both formal and non-formal settings. For decades, she has been a passionate voice and active player in the assessment and review of the national and international institutions she has been involved with, particularly in the reform of gender infrastructure of these organizations. Having been involved with the United Nations in various capacities, she is deeply committed to the current UN reform process and its Southeast Asia focal point of the NGO-led Gender Equality Architecture Reform campaign. Throughout her distinguished career, she has seamlessly combined vision, commitment, and passion with hard work, people skills, management ability, and common sense. ladies and gentlemen, the keynote speaker in our first Regional Higher Education Summit in Region 5, the chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education, the Honorable Dr. Patricia B. Licuana.
I gave him instructions to make the introduction short, and he did not follow instructions. So sorry, I apologize for that long introduction. So, good morning, fellow workers in Philippine education and my dear friends from Bicol. I am very happy to have been summoned again to Bicol, and I did respond. I'm here. But truly, these are very difficult, very terrible times, I think, for our country. Because of the disaster wrought by Typhoon Yolanda on Region 8 and parts of Region, I guess, 7 and Region 6 as well. But Bicol is no stranger to disasters. No? As a matter of fact, I think Bicol has been an example of how to manage disasters, and that is probably the reason why some of your officials are there in Tacloban today to help share your expertise, basically the expertise of managing disasters and rising from disasters. So it is in this spirit that today at this summit we address higher education and its roles in national development. Allow me, for my keynote, to share with you the CHED roadmap for higher education. Access, capacity, and excellence. Higher education for national development and global competitiveness. I'd like to start with some basic perspectives on higher education. Sandali lang I'm just making sure there. Does my remote work? Okay. So basically, I'd like to think that Philippine higher education has two major thrusts. One is micro and individual, expanded and enhanced career and life chances and choices for students. No? So the individual student has a better chance in life because of higher education. Higher education has a macro and societal thrust as well, and that is for higher education and higher education institutions to be in the full service of national development. Oops, next slide please. Ganun na lang. All right. The strategic roles of higher education in national development are as an instrument for poverty alleviation and as a vehicle for technologically driven national development and global competitiveness. So how does it contribute to poverty alleviation? Basically, through the three roles, through the three functions of instruction, research, and extension, higher education is able to build up the capacity as well as create opportunity for the poor. How do we contribute to economic development? Through one, human capital formation, and here I must cite our role in developing the services sector. We know that the services sector makes up a major part of our GDP. And also, I must also call attention to higher education's role in developing the workers in business processing outsourcing. The Philippines is now one of, if not the top destination of choice for the business processing outsourcing industry. However, as well, higher education has a very special role in technologically driven national competitiveness. We develop the high-level scientific and technologically oriented professionals, and also the human resource for research, development, and innovation, which is so necessary for national development and global competitiveness. Now let me say something about the landscape of Philippine higher education. So this is the map, and essentially I think, if I'm not mistaken, the blue represent the private institutions, and the red, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. The blue is public, and the red are private institutions. And here we see that we have 1,871 higher education institutions, excluding 442 SUCS satellite campuses. All provinces in the country have higher education institutions, including at least one state college per province, except now for Sarangani. The distribution of higher education institutions is uneven, with the heaviest concentration in the National Capital Region, Region 4A, Region 3, and Cebu. The enrollment in higher education translates to 24% of total college-age population of 16 to 21. That college age might change with K to 12, but of the 16 to 21-year-old population, 24% are in college, giving us a gross enrollment ratio which is associated with middle-income countries, which is pretty okay. So higher education, as we all know, is a mixed public and private system, with the private sector playing a dominant role in the sense of there are 88% of the higher education institutions are private. But however, in terms of enrollment, the private sector only has 57% of the market. So not as large as it could, And this share has been continuously decreasing over time from 85% 2 decades ago to 57% at present. I guess what that tells us is that more and more students are migrating from the private schools to the public schools. This is just a pie chart to show the distribution of HEIs by institution. It's just a clearer picture with private HEIs, the SUCS, the local universities and colleges, and other government HEIs. The agency that Dr. Kala was describing, the Development Academy of the Philippines, I think belongs to that sliver called other government HEIs. So here, we also have another pie chart showing the Bicol landscape. It's very similar with, I think there are 107 private institutions in Bicol, 9 state universities and colleges, 16 local universities and colleges or community colleges, for 132 institutions. All right, let me now show you the summary of our roadmap. Now we start with outcomes. We have 2 outcomes. The first major outcome is Filipinos with competencies and high-level skills for national development and global competitiveness. The second outcome is ethical and innovative governance. For each of these outcomes, we have strategies. For outcome 1, strategy 1 is to expand access to quality education and training. This is animated, so I'll either do it myself or just look at my signals. The second strategy is to develop competencies required for inclusive growth, particularly in key employment generating sectors. And the third strategy is develop globally competitive HEIs and programs. So you can see that corresponds to what was in our title, access, competence, and excellence. For our strategy 2, essentially we have for our outcome 2, we have one strategy, which is basically implementing good governance. These strategies are in line with the key result areas of the Aquino government, which are depicted in red. Essentially, each of these strategies corresponds to one of the key result areas of the Aquino administration. They also correspond to the higher education reform agenda and the CHED strategic plan. So that's the summary of our roadmap. Let me go through this one by one. The first strategy is to expand access to quality education and training. And our action for this are the following. First, provide financial support to students. And here we have our various types of financial assistance programs. We have grants in aid, we have student loans, we have the Student Grants in Aid program for poverty alleviation, which is a very new program which essentially focuses on the poorest of the poor, the CC, student-aged children from the CCD families, the community, conditional cash transfer, or the 4Ps program of the SWD. We also, this is not, this is something we like to point out, and it is asterisk, because there is the Barangay Grantees program that exists. It is mandated under RA 7160 of the local government code. It's still, that is still somewhat controversial in the sense that these scholars do exist, but these state universities and colleges always raise to me the fact that nobody is paying for these barangay scholars. No? So they said, saan magagaling yung tuition? We take them in because that is the law. So we're still finding where the resources for this will come from. I always include it in my presentations because it is a good reminder to government, whether it's Congress or DBM, that we have to find the funds for this because they are a drain on the state universities and colleges. I also include here the subsidy to students in public higher education institutions, because the point here is all students in any public institution are, for all intents and purposes, subsidized. No? Whether or not it's the University of the Philippines or some small community college, these government funds are being spent for these students. So that is, in a sense, a support for, a financial support to students. Action 2 is very interesting. It is to provide programs for learners in special circumstances. Oh, excuse me. Let me go back to the scholarships, because basically at this point there is a bill in Congress, a very important bill, which CHED supports very strongly. This is the Unified Student Financial Assistance System for Higher and Technical Education, or the UNIFAST bill, which is trying to harmonize and unify all government scholarships and grants in order to make it more effective and more equitable. So we hope that that will pass. We have very strong assurances that it will pass in both houses. But okay, so now for action 2. This action refers to programs that are intended for students in special circumstances. The Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETIAP, is a program through which skills and competencies acquired outside the formal system are evaluated and accredited towards a degree. The philosophy here is, it is not just in the classroom that learning takes place. No? So if you have work experience, if you have experience as an older student, you can now, through the ETIAP program, claim academic credits for this. The ladderized education program, on the other hand, recognizes units earned in technological and vocational programs. So you can get, again, credits in a 4-year bachelor's course, 4 courses that you have taken in TESDA institutions. And for distance education, this is very important because it helps overcome the barriers of geography, of personal or work commitments, where you cannot be at the classroom in the regular schedules that usually govern these types of programs. So we find that a very good access, good access mechanism. A third action point is modernizing facilities and resources of developing state universities and colleges. Very recently, 87 developing state universities and colleges were given funds for infrastructure out of the much maligned disbursement acceleration program. SUCs that are classified as level 1 and level 2, and those that do not yet have centers of excellence and centers of development were given a certain amount of money. The minimum was about 3 million each to help develop their laboratories and buy equipment and so forth. The fourth action point is dissemination and transfer of technology for productivity improvement and livelihood development through research, development, and extension. Now here, essentially again, the leading universities, through their extension programs, were supported to provide, to transfer these technologies to communities, and also to improve farming and other production systems and products to generate livelihood and employment in areas that have been identified, for instance, by the National Poverty Commission, Anti-Poverty Commission. So the types of projects that were, in a way, transferred from, the technology of which was transferred from higher education institutions to barangays and to communities included programs for promoting peace, empowering women, protecting the environment, reducing disaster devastation, and alleviating poverty. Now, strategy 2. So that's access, okay? Strategy 2 is to develop competencies required for inclusive growth, particularly in key employment-generating sectors, or KEGs. And the first action under this is to establish competency, outcomes, and typology-based quality assurance. So CHED has set the stage for more determined and concrete steps towards higher quality and relevance of higher education through a competency, outcomes, and typology-based quality assurance framework. This is now embodied in, again, initially maligned but now accepted CHED Memorandum Order 46, CMO 46, Policy Standard to Enhance Quality Assurance in the Philippines. This CMO will be the basis for the revision of programs, policies, standards, and guidelines along learning competency-based standards or learning outcomes. So we are moving away from an input-oriented approach to education to an outcomes-based. But basically, It is a radical move. I think other countries in the region and other countries in the world are a little more ahead of us. I think certainly TESDA is ahead of higher education in this regard, but it is the way of the future. It is necessary, where you judge the quality by what your products can do and what your students are able to do. So this will help prepare us for comparability of our degrees in the Asia-Pacific region, also for referencing to the ASEAN Reference Qualifications Framework when ASEAN becomes an economic community in December 2015. Part of this Action 1 is also re-engineering curricula to align with industry. So basically, we are re-engineering all of our policy standards and guidelines with help from industry to make them more relevant and to enable our graduates to be more employable. With the K-12 curriculum, we have also, along with that, we have revised the general education curriculum. And I think this is a very challenging development. Should I use challenging? Faye does not like challenging. But it's an interesting development because we have cut general education in half. What used to be 2 years is now 1 year. And it has a very strong intellectual capacities, such as critical, analytical, and creative thinking, multiple forms of expression and communication, also civic capacities demanded of membership in the community, the country, and the world. So this is quite good, no? Because in a way, people have said, does that mean now that the college courses can be shorter? Yes, it could mean that. And in some disciplines, they have decided they will shorten the college courses. Engineering has committed itself to go from 5 years to 4 years because now they don't have to have 2 full years of general education. But this is not across the board. This will be done discipline by discipline, and the technical panels and technical committees of chair are now going through this and seeing how best they can use the extra time that has been generated by the shortening of the general education curriculum. Also, we are enhancing existing programs in maritime, engineering, information technology, business process outsourcing, tourism, and agriculture. And here I was saying, I mentioned that we have very close relationships now with industry, and we have funded and will continue to fund developments, innovations in this area, because these are also the areas mentioned in the Philippine Development Plan. We are rationalizing our higher education programs. No? So basically, CHED has embarked on phasing out and closure of substandard programs in higher education institutions. For 2013, CHED has identified almost 600 substandard or non-compliant programs in private HEIs, and 185 of these programs have already been closed and phased out. A total of 228 substandard programs have been identified in public higher education institutions, and 150 of these have been closed and phased out. And these include programs that are deemed non-compliant, of course, to basic standards, and also outside of their mandate. Because so many times now, higher education institutions go into every course imaginable. Whether if they are agricultural colleges, they're supposed to be normal schools, and yet they go into criminology, they go into hotel and restaurant management. Partly, I think, because of survival. They know that these are popular courses and they will get more enrollment this way. Well, now in our system of when we analyze the performance of higher education institutions, particularly SUCs, in preparation for their budgets, we do not give you credit just for warm bodies. They have to be warm bodies enrolled in priority disciplines, in disciplines that are part of your mandate. No? So I think this, I hope that will make a difference and that we can rationalize the enrollments a little bit more. I'd like to say a little bit about complementation of programs, and this is related to the revelation earlier of Dr. Fay. You know, the case, well, first of all, several regions in the country now and clusters of HEIs have supported the complementation of programs, no? Basically trying to see how they can work better together. So essentially this development yesterday of having the 9 SUCs in Region 5 have joint administrative council, and I think Dr. Fay was saying that in those 9 SUCs they have almost 400 different programs. So many of those, I'm sure, are duplications and overlapping, unnecessary. I mean, some duplication is of course part of the game, you know, but it should be studied a lot more carefully. So we are very strong in this, and this is, again, we give a lot of credit in our evaluation of SUCs to whether or not they are harmonizing with each other within the region. You know. Also still, as part of strategy 2, I'm sorry, let's see, yes, in action 1, establishing competency outcomes and typology-based quality assurance, we are operationalizing the Philippine Qualifications Framework. The Philippines Qualification Framework, through Executive Order 83, is a tripartite collaboration of the 3 educational agencies, DepEd, TESDA, and SHED. And it is aimed at matching the competency requirements of industry. Also, it is a very important guidepost because it tells us what you can expect of those students who have exited the various points in our educational system. And this will help us benchmark with ASEAN and the rest of the world. So that is a very important reform and development. Also, we are developing and have developed and continue to develop and deliver programs for emerging careers. It is said that we are training students now for careers that don't even exist. So by the time they graduate, they will be recruited into careers that may not even exist today. Well, again, through our partnership with industry, we can anticipate some of these careers. Through a partnership with the Business Processing Association of the Philippines, we developed a service management track within our IT and business administration programs. So this was through partnership with industry when they said, these are the types of skills we need, these are the types of courses that will bring about those skills. So they worked with our technical committee, and now we have a special track in service management. IBM did the same thing with us. They told us, well, you know, with the BPO, they knew that. They said, you know, we have to hire 500,000 people, and we don't find them. We don't find them because the graduates that come out of the institutions don't qualify. So through this program, they will, and the business processing outsourcing industry will hire them. The same thing with IBM. They said, you know, for the future, it's is really going to be a very big thing. This thing on business analytics, that is the next big thing. We will really need a lot of people with big data skills. And can we train them now? Can we train them now? So the same way, through working with our technical committee on IT and our technical committee on business administration, we embedded a career track, a specialization track for business analytics in the curriculum. So we are continuing to do this, and we hope to discover other emerging careers for the future. We have classified higher education institutions by type. We have a horizontal typology and a vertical typology. The horizontal typology classifies institutions into 3 basic types. Not just all universities. Everybody thinks that my final goal is to be a university. And we say no. Every different institution has its own calling based on your mission and vision. So you could be a college, you could be a professional institution, and you could be a university. But not all of you have to become a university. And often it is just university in name. You're not real universities. It becomes a political exercise. Your congressman pushes it. There is a bill in Congress. No matter how much Ched objects and saying they're not yet ready, they're not yet a university, tuloy pa rin because politically that is the thing to do because they will get votes. Now, and we hope that will change also. That essentially then, you can be whatever it is you are meant to be as long as you are good. So, horizontal has no implication of superiority. You're all the same level, only different. But on the vertical typology, that's where you can be the best that you can be. And if you are very good, excellent, you will be autonomous. And if you are, well, okay, and aspiring to be better, you might become deregulated, or the rest will be regulated institutions. Finally, for Action 1, we have developing faculty and HEI managers. This was referred to by President Palau earlier. So, part of it was. But basically, we provide scholarships to upgrade the academic qualifications of HEI faculty, and we allow them to study for master's degrees and doctorate degrees, as well as continuing professional education. So we hope that this way, the quality of education within the HEIs will improve through the improvement of faculty. All right, Action 2, no? Action 2 for Strategy 2. So you give them good quality education. Now, we also want to steer students toward priority programs. No? Essentially, we have identified priority disciplines. We have identified oversubscribed disciplines, and that's why we also issued a moratorium on oversubscribed disciplines. And we have identified priority courses. And this way, we give more support for those who are going into priority courses. So, what we have done is, and continue to do in collaboration with the Department of Labor and Employment, and of course, TESDA and DepEd, we give labor market information for employers, students, and schools. And we also collaborate with guidance counselors so that they can provide career guidance for students to enhance the employability of students. And then finally, under this action, we give what we call merit scholarships. There is a distinction between grants in aid, which are needs-based, and scholarships, which are merit-based. So we also have increased the number of scholarships available, And quite frankly now, with the big brouhaha on PDAC and people giving away their PDAC, I am afraid we will have a lot more scholarships on our hands, and the issue is our own capacity, our absorptive capacity. And they said, kaya ka ng chair, not under all of this. Well, I said, kakayanin, we will do our very best, because that's good, that's good that we have more scholarships. All right, finally, strategy 3, which is excellence. Develop globally competitive HEIs and programs. First, the first action point is identifying and supporting centers of excellence and development, research development centers, and national universities and colleges for agriculture and fisheries. Here again, we have supported quite a number. We have about 67 centers of excellence, and we will continue with this program. And the point here is these centers of excellence, as well as these research and development centers, are supported so that they can be as good as they should be, and also become a resource for other institutions. I also have to make some, I'll go a little quickly because this is taking a little bit more time than I expected. Reforming graduate education programs is the next action point. Yes, I have to say something here, because we have so many graduate programs. Now we have, by last count, 4,177 graduate education programs. And 3,800 or so are just barely make the minimum. We call them minimumers. So we really are not happy with the quality of graduate education in the country. Most of the graduate programs are just there because there is a market. And why is there a market? Because CHED says all those who teach in higher education institutions have to have master's degrees. Because the Civil Service Commission says, if you have a master's degree, you get more points and so forth. So it has created a market for rather cheap master's degrees. So we are going to now take stock of these master's degree programs and try and make sure that because most of these programs are not even accredited, So we will start with some effort to have these programs accredited and improve the quality so that they are real graduate programs. We want to we are working on meeting Action 3, the international standards in programs with international agreements. Here I would like to just point out the Washington Accord, which is basically an agreement in the field of engineering. And all members of the Washington Accord say that we will respect your degree. We will consider your degrees as equivalent to ours. So all the members of the Washington Accord have pledged that they will, that the degrees are transferable and they will hire graduates from countries who are members of the Washington Accord. So that is very, very important. So I think right now, I think that is worth a round of applause. We have provisional membership, and we are working also for membership in the Seoul Accord. The Seoul Accord has to do with information technology, the same thing, so that if the Philippines becomes a member, graduates of Philippine institutions with degrees in IT will be hireable in the new economic communities that are coming up. The next action point is promote high-end R&D for technological innovation. I want to say something there because I think this government has given quite a bit of support for R&D. Up to 2010, the higher education budget for R&D averaged only 30 million per year. and largely from the Higher Education Development Fund of CHED. Recently, in 2011 and 2012, the Disbursement Acceleration Program, the NAP Development Academy of the Philippines, which, by the way, as I said, is under attack at the moment, provided a large infusion, 560 million for R&D, which we gave to the various leading higher education schools, the major schools. As well as last year, we had 44% increase in the budget of schools. So that was a very good turn for research and development. But aside from that, we also started, are about to launch a collaborative effort with foreign counterparts. And this is the Philippine California Advanced Research Institutes program. This will bring together the Philippines and USA researchers and scientists to conduct research and development, to develop and adapt technologies to address current problems of the country. And this will involve the University of California system, two of their universities, the campus at Berkeley and the campus in San Francisco. So the campus at Berkeley will be for the information infrastructure development, and University of California, San Francisco will be for health, innovation, and translational medicine. So here we expect that this PICARI project, which is also, by the way, being brought up in the media, at least it was a few weeks ago, it's no longer the flavor of the week. We expect to contribute a critical mass of scientists and researchers with the capacity to translate scientific evidence into effective technological and social intervention in the focal areas of this project that address important concerns. And some of these are various diseases like schistosomiasis, malaria, also water and energy supply, disaster mitigation, and so forth. If you were reading the papers some time back, there were some questions raised about PICARI, but basically I can assure you that PICARI is a most valuable project that will truly help the Philippines. It is an unusual opportunity to be able to partner with these very distinguished institutions, and that it will follow all the proper procedures and will be totally above board. No truth, the hint of plunder or whatever, misuse. Finally, strategy 3 is to develop globally competitive HEIs and, finally, with the same strategy, Action 5 is to develop world-class universities, still in the third area of excellence. I have mixed feelings about now this buzzword. Everyone talks about world-class universities, and all universities now say they aim to be world-class. I'm not sure that that is the right thing. Basically, I think they're referring, of course, to the global ratings. No? And then sometimes, again, this makes the headlines that the Philippines, the 4 institutions, the Philippines have gone down in their ratings and so forth. As I said, I am not totally comfortable because the methodologies for global rankings only apply to a very small proportion of the existing universities in the world. They estimate there are about 17,000 universities worldwide. Only 700 to 1,000 research universities are ranked. No? So what happens to the rest who are doing a very important work? Also, rankings so far cover only some university missions. Few address the broad diversity of types and missions of HEIs. Nobody talks about social responsibility. You're not rated you're rated for your research output, but are you rated for your social responsibility, your contribution to the community? No. So we have questions about that. But the fact is, they are here. Rankings are here. They seem to be important. They affect the reputation of the country and its educational system. All of the legislators, react every time it comes out. Bumaba na naman yung UP, Ateneo, LaSalle, UST, the four that are in the global radar screen. So the fact is, we have to deal with world rankings, and we have to support. We have to support our top universities, and we have to find the right way of doing it without losing our perspective. Let me just go quickly to the second outcome, which unfortunately I think is not paid that much attention to by educational institutions, and that is ethical and innovative governance. Our strategy is to implement good governance. This is part of the Angkatuwid pledge of this government. For us in CHED, for our strategic plan, it goes with KRA 4, which is transparency and accountability, and KRA 5, which is organizational development. So what do we want to do for the most part? What are we doing and what do we want to do? Action 1 is obtain good governance certification. So essentially, we will be doing that at CHED, and I think Director Bernal was one of the first advocates in CHED to push for ISO certification. Again, I have mixed feelings about this because you can be very efficient and yet not have high quality education. But efficiency does help you have high quality, and we're learning that now. It is very good. If your systems don't work well, it is very hard to deliver quality. So your systems have to work. They are not sufficient for quality, but they seem to be a necessary ingredient. So we will be doing that, and we will encourage also state universities and colleges, as well as possibly private institutions, to do this as well. We will strengthen internal control systems and enhance transparency in CHED and SUITs. Basically, we have been trying very hard to improve the governance of state universities and colleges, and which leads me to my next action point, which is to professionalize the management of state universities and colleges. And President Kala made mention of that. Essentially, in collaboration with the Development Academy of the Philippines, as well as the Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges, CHED is developing a career system for state universities and colleges in order to, among others, depoliticize the system of selection of presidents and other officials. We would like that they have at least certain minimum qualifications so that they qualify to be state college or university presidents. So they become like a CESO in the educational system, so that no matter what, no matter how political the system is, the politician can only endorse from a group that already has the minimum qualifications, because sometimes it's deep selection. Even those who are barely qualified can be, through political influence, become president, and we hope that this will change that. It's not all suits that have exceptional presidents like DePaul University. Action 4 is structure and governance towards amalgamation, and that is related to the harmonization I mentioned earlier. Essentially, what are we doing? We are trying to, again, get First, the state system, because it's easier for us to work with the state system because we control their budget. No? For the HEIs, we just can encourage them, and we are trying to do that, and there's some interest in it. Instituting regional university systems and specialized universities based on strategic development trusts, products, and services. So sana, if you look at it, sometimes there are several state universities in one province. No? Why? And then the state support or the funding is spread out so thinly. This way, and DBM is a strong supporter of this. They said, our money will go a longer way if you amalgamate and form university systems. So we're doing that. We also are trying to rationalize the local university system, a local colleges system, identifying, classifying, monitoring local government-operated post-secondary institutions, and assigning the rightful role in community and the economy. We have to revisit the local government code and what really was the role that local and community colleges were supposed to play, and make sure that that is played. Because right now that seems to have been forgotten as well. And we would like to promote excellence and greater competence in the governance and leadership of HEIs. So essentially, that is the roadmap for higher education. My dear friends, there is just so much to do. We still have a long way to go. It is a long, winding, and bumpy road, but we are determined to stay the course. I invite you all to travel together towards the reformed Philippine higher education and toward Philippine development and globalized competitiveness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Lipuanan, for the clear and organized presentation. We shall now award the plaque of appreciation. May I call on Dr. Freddie T. Bernal, CHED Rufai Regional Director, and Dr. Faye Lea M. Lauraya, President of Bicol University and BFHE. Let me read the contents of the plaque. The Bicol Regional Development Council, Commission on Higher Education, and the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education award this plaque of appreciation to Honorable Patricia B. Lipuanan, PhD, Chairperson, CHED, for sharing her precious time and expertise to the regional leaders of higher education, technical and vocational education, and the basic education sectors in Bicol as keynote speaker on the theme, Engaging Higher Education Towards Sustainable Development and Inclusive Growth in the Bicol Region. Given this 14th day of November 2013 at the Oriental Hotel in Legazpi City during the Regional Higher Education Summit 2013. Signed, Attorney Romeo C. Escandor, NEDA Regional Director and RDC Secretariat, Faye Lea Patria M. Lauraya, PhD, BFHE, BU, and PASO 5 President, and Dr. Freddie T. Bernal, CHED Region 5 Director. May we also request the Regional Director of DILG 5, TESDA 5, and DepEd RO 5 to come up the stage for the symbolic picture taking. And the President of the Community Colleges, the Association of Local Colleges, headed by Dr. Malyari, wearing white, in long sleeves, Dr. Malyari, the President of ALCO 5. the presidents of all HEIs please come up the stage for the photo off? May presidente ba po sa Albay? The heads of local colleges, Dr. Buena, the officers of BFHE, please, you are tabang na.
Let's move a bit po.
Okay, thank you, the presidents of Albay. Next, Camarines Sur. Yung BFHE officers daw po, wala pa rin sa stage. Camarines Sur presidents. Compress daw po. Compress and condense.
Dito po. Dito. Dito po.
Camarines Norte. Camarines.
Sir, kamay po, sir. Sir, kamay po, sir.
Okay, next from the land of crabs.
Okay po. Ito po.
Okay, from the islands of Masbate and Catanduanes. Heads of institutions, educational institutions in Masbate and in Catanduanes. Next group from Catanduanes. Tapos all smile. Nobody is not smiling. Okay. Oh. Next from Catanduanes.
Ready? Ako, ma'am. Nagdag pa tayo dito sa left side. Nagdag tayo dito. Sir, ma'am, di kayo dito dyan. Ma'am, di kayo may dito dyan. Dito na po. Ito po ang tingin. Okay.
Okay, the last but not the least.
Okay na po.
Okay na?
Okay. Smile.
Fatima, such as Honorable Chairperson Patricia B. Licuanan, fondly called PBL by CHED officials, our keynote speaker, the CEO President of Development Academy of the Philippines, Dr. Antonio B. Calao. The question now is, how do we make Bicol the most livable region in the country? How do we address the emerging issues and concerns on higher education system, which affects the higher education institutions in Region 5? How do we face interesting development in education? There is a saying that a day without updates or education is a day wasted. No learning points, no challenges. So the next question now is, are we ready for another information overload? Walang sagot. I repeat, are we ready for another information overload? Yes, so let's move on for the PM session. Regional development is a guide to attain our vision of making Bicol the most livable region in the country. RDP states that every Bicolano has the right to education. The goal is to produce good and productive citizens. The plan aims to provide access to quality education for all Bicolanos and to improve instructional outcome in all levels. Friends, for the specifics, this time, let us welcome a brilliant, straightforward, organized, and calm leader to talk on the Bicol Regional Development Plan 2011-2016. Ladies and gentlemen, the Regional Director of NEDA Region 5, Attorney Romeo C. Iscandor.
Thank you. I am underwhelmed. I hope I live up to your expectation. Good afternoon, marayang hapon. Dr. Laraya, Dr. Bares, Dr. Director Maceda, the other regional directors here, heads of the different higher education institutions, division superintendents, and other important officials and representatives of the different schools and sectors and institutions participating in this higher education summit. They're blaming me for this summit. No, I am not the culprit. It's really the idea of Governor Joey Salceda, this chairman. He mentioned that actually in Bicol region, the biggest employer after government is the education sector. So that shows how much importance we are giving to education and to move forward and to make Bicol an educational destination, not only a tourism destination, but an education destination and center in the Philippines or even in Southeast Asia. He told us, why don't you conduct a summit? Maybe we can come up with some new ideas on how to move forward. My task this afternoon is to give you briefly the Bicol Regional Development Plan, the RDP. There will be no information overload. I will give you a very simple presentation, promise, and I keep my promises. First, let's look at what are the strengths of the region. So let me cite a few. There are so many, but let me cite a few examples. Human resources. For me, I think that's the only real resource. All others are used by people, by humans. If you don't have people, you don't have development. It is as simple as that. If you have developed people, you have development. That's a very simple equation. Of course, our culture and our strong religion, very religious people, is an important asset. I always believe that economic development is a result of how developed a culture is, how people work together, how they interact with each other. It's not the other way around. It is not culture is not a result of economic development, but rather economic development is a result of culture. Well, let me mention also mineral resources. This is an issue now. In the national and the regional development plan, there is no clear policy statement. Even between me and Governor Salceda, we have differences on this. But anyway, regardless of the policy decision of the national government, we have lots of mineral resources that will help the region. In fact, I think 2 years ago, Bicol had the biggest GDP growth rate because of the new mining investments in Masbate. Tourism attractions, I do not have to explain that. Bicol has better tourist attractions than Bohol, than Boracay, than Central Visayas. So it's just a matter of improving our capability to attract tourists to come to the region, and I think we have started with that. Geothermal energy is a plus factor. It is as if we have free and unlimited energy resources. So it's really more a matter of improving our institutional capability to provide cheap and reliable power. So these are just some of the strengths that I can mention right now. Of course, there are others. But let me go to our most pressing problems now in the region. Number one is underemployment. Our employment rate is high, but our underemployment is very high. What does it mean? It means that people are not satisfied with their jobs, they're not satisfied with their income, they're looking for more, better jobs and higher income. That is simply what it means. No? I do not have to explain our problems on climate. It recently happened last November 8th. Geological hazards, we have that, earthquake, volcano, so we have to learn how to live with those hazards, and we should be better prepared. And I think Bicol, particularly Albay, is one of the most advanced provinces. Among the provinces, the most advanced in preparedness for disaster risk. Inadequate basic services. Again, I do not have to explain this. Our hospital services to the poor, to the needy, and other basic services are definitely not adequate. So we have to add more investments on this. Another big problem in Bicol is generally our very low productivity in all aspects, in almost all sectors. This will be explained after me by Ms. Clarin, our competitiveness. If we are going to develop economically, we have to be productive. Everybody, all institutions or local government units must be productive. So let me cite a few examples. Naga City I think they can now issue business permits in less than 2 hours or probably 1 hour. The challenge is to make other local governments do that and probably reduce it to 30 minutes. Even educational institutions have to improve their productivity. What does it mean? It means that you have to lower the cost of your education services and provide a better output out of that low-cost education. Infrastructure is definitely a problem in the region. Fortunately, the national government has funded Bicol International Airport, but we still need to develop other airports like Iraq, Masbate, and of course in Naga City. We are hoping that the railway will soon be revived rehabilitated and possibly modernized, because that is very important to Bicol. We have to improve our road and port infrastructures, among others. So those are just the few problems I would like to highlight now. So what are the challenges to us? What do we have to attain? What we have to do is baliktarin natin yung mga problema. Economic growth. We have to improve our GDP growth rate. We have a very erratic growth rate. Sometimes we only have 2%, 3%. 2 years ago we had more than 8%. This year we had 7%. The challenge is to sustain our GDP growth rate to maybe a range of 6 to 8% every year. And we keep on saying that growth must not be jobless. We do not want jobless growth. So the economic growth must create more and better jobs. Because if it doesn't, then the economic growth is useless. The government particularly has to meet the basic needs of the people. Basic needs, shelter, water supply, better health services, etc. We also have to increase our production. Production in general, both agricultural and industrial. One of the reasons why Bicol region is very poor is basically we are agriculture. For as long as we keep on being agriculture, Bicol will stay poor. So we have to move into other areas. We have to promote more investments in industries and in services. We have to increase our agricultural production areas, improve the productivity of agriculture, improve the productivity in manufacturing and other industrial subsectors. I do not have to belabor the challenge of disaster risk. We already know this. The response to this is better preparedness of the national and local government units, including the communities. So what is our vision? This was mentioned by before I was called. The vision of the region for us is make Bicol as the most livable region. So let's define livable. What do we mean by livable? Maybe you can replace that with the word paradise. So you have to describe what is a livable region. Obviously, there must be peace and order. I did not put that in the slide, but that's very basic. We must be secure, there must be peace and order. The environment must be clean. It's not a matter of not using our environment or our physical resources, but we should be able to maintain. So we would like to avoid polluted air, polluted water, etc. Efficient transportation, does include the communication here, is very basic. So if the railway is able to, we are able to restore the railway and you can go to Manila from Sorsogon in less than 3 hours. That's our dream. We should be able to move from one place to another, like buy a ticket in Camarines Norte, you can go to Albay, go to Catanduanes, intermodal. I mean, those are just examples. No? A livable region must be able to protect the most vulnerable and marginalized people. We refer it to, of course, to the poor sector of the poorer sector of the society. Women and children, those are not protected. There should be facilities and services for social protection. Access to basic services. Basic services, we refer to education, health, and other services. And finally, jobs are available, meaning good quality jobs, so that people do not, or Bicolanos do not have to go abroad. They do not, probably they do not have to go to Metro Manila. or probably we would like Bicolanos to go up to Bicol because jobs are available in the region. So these are just examples of, you can add to the list. You can add to the list on how to describe paradise. That's what we mean by livable region. So given that vision, what are the 4 goals that we have identified in our regional plan? We divided it into 4 sectoral goals. We should be able to provide basic needs, so I have already explained that. We should be able to ensure economic growth. You cannot provide basic services if you do not have money. There is no social development if there is no economic growth. So that is very important. To have economic growth, we have to improve our infrastructure. Again, that's very basic. Then we should be able to sustain development. I'm not talking here about sustainability. What we mean here by sustained development is that particularly local government units should become more productive, more competitive. They should be able to provide more efficient services, and through proper land use planning, project development, they will continue to attract more investments and to develop the respective communities. So basically, sustaining development is addressed to the local government units with the assistance of the national government offices. Now, I will not discuss ensuring economic growth, improving infrastructure, sustaining development in detail, because our topic today and tomorrow is about education, so I will focus on the provision of basic needs. So I already mentioned that to provide basic needs, one is we have to improve our educational services, provide access to health services, shelter, protection to vulnerable persons. Let me focus on the first basic service, improving education, because that is our topic. If we are going to improve education, what will be the outcome? What's the bottom line? What is the final result? The outcome of education should be to produce or to come up or to make our people become, ito dapat dalawa to good citizens and productive citizens. So those are the two twin outcomes. The kind of people or graduates that we should have, they should become good citizens and productive citizens in the service of the country. That should be the outcome of education. So what do we mean by good citizens? Well, you are law-abiding, you do not throw your garbage into the streets, etc. Maybe I do not have to. Productive citizens, this simply means that you are adequately prepared to join industry, become entrepreneurs, or better employees, better technicians, and better professionals. Those are what we mean by productive citizens. Then if you are a good citizen and a productive citizen, what are you? It should be in the service of the country. I will relate that to my last slide. So more specifically, in the educational sector, we have 3 main objectives. We would like to make basic education, vocational education, and higher education more accessible. DepEd already has reforms being introduced with K-12 and other reforms. TESDA and other agencies are improving vocational education. CHED is, of course, now has the roadmap on higher education. Basically, what we want to happen is that education should not be denied to our people, it should be accessible. Another objective is education facilities are improved. I think this is very easy to understand. So not only buildings, classrooms, but this will include laboratories, IT equipment, laboratories, etc. And finally, once the first 2 objectives are met, the quality of education improved. Now, you can relate quality of education improved to the education outcome. If the quality of education is improved, the products, the graduates of our educational systems must be good and productive citizens in the service of the country. Now, how do we go about doing this? Again, I listed 3 education strategies in our regional development plan. The implementation of basic education reforms. So this has been done at the national level. The law has been passed on K-12, but this has to be translated at the regional and provincial levels. Second is our technical and vocational education must be market-oriented. It's not exactly matching industry requirements or industry jobs, but know the market, meaning we don't train students for jobs that are non-existent or for where they will not be employed. For higher education, very simply, what strategy are we proposing? Higher education must be world-class. So we tell our SUCs, the private higher educational institutions, you are not competing with the other regions in the country. You are competing with Southeast Asian countries or maybe even beyond. So our reference points, our baseline must be what are they doing in Singapore, what are they doing in Malaysia, and probably later we can look at what are they doing in Japan, Australia, etc. So, world-class higher education is that our higher educational system must be as good, if not better, as what they're doing in those places that I have mentioned. We are not competing with each other, we're not competing with the other regions of the country. Now let me, as a final note, let me relate it to an actual experience. Let me cite what they did in Japan in 1868. This is being referred to as the Meiji Restoration, or when Japan had to get out of isolation to modernize. One of the first things that they did is to establish a nationwide educational system that will provide universal basic education. Universal, no exception. And what was the goal of that national and universal educational system? To educate the Japanese to become better subjects in the service of the emperor. So you have to define, what do you mean by better subjects? Of course, important is law-abiding, but other than law-abiding, they were trained to become more productive, they were trained to become more disciplined, they were trained to become either better in the fields that they are into, better government officials, better soldiers, better entrepreneurs, better workers, better scientists, better professionals, better teachers, etc., etc. Primarily, of course, because they are subjects of the emperor in the service of the emperor. So again, just to reiterate, what should be the result of good education? Our graduates, again, just to reiterate this, our graduates must be civic-minded. That is what we mean by good citizens, productive, either as an entrepreneur or an employer, and finally, disciplined. So if we have this, we can say that our educational system has produced the outcome that we desire. Now, finally, my last slide is what are we going to do in order to implement the regional development plan? Let me just cite a few examples. We are now promoting project development. Actually, we have now ongoing in all the state universities and colleges in the region we are conducting trainings on project development for the university staff and also for the local government units, basically to train them to prepare project proposals. The context is this. You have a plan, you have a development plan. But a development plan cannot be implemented without projects. The only way to implement a plan is through projects. But if you do not have good proposals, if you do not have feasibility studies, you don't get any project. So that is our very simple thesis. The problem in Bicol is that very few projects, either publicly funded or privately funded, are going to Bicol because there are very few good proposals and very few feasibility studies. So what we are doing now is train the local government units, train the SUCs, become trainers of the local government units so that they will become good in preparation of feasibility studies and project proposals. Because simply, the more project proposals, the more projects we are going to have. The more projects that we are going to have, the more successful will be the implementation of the regional development plan. Following implementation of projects is promoting investments. No investments, no employment. Again, another simple formula. But you cannot attract investments if you do not have good infrastructure, if the local government units are inefficient or not business friendly, etc., etc. So to promote investments, we need to do a lot of things. We need projects in order to attract either domestic or foreign investments. Now for education, we are looking at local government units to provide support to the educational system. There are many things that they can do. One is as I've said, we have to spread out educational services. Some students cannot study because they are simply too far from the educational centers. So let's bring the educational system to the local government units so that they will be able to provide campuses, facilities, maybe pay for the salaries of teachers, and we will be able to provide a wider educational services to the people. Another way to implement the plan is what we call area development plans. Examples of this, we have probably you've heard about the Almaso, that refers to the Albay Masbate socio-tourism agenda. Because, well, governors have said, I believe that tourism is one way to unite these provinces to attract investments and attract tourists to the region. We are also promoting the Caramuan-Catanduanes Tourism Link for that area, and of course Camarines and Camarines Norte, using tourism as the primary economic driver. Then finally, private sector participation. So improving private sector participation will help us in the implementation of the regional development plan. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope I did not overload you with information. It's very brief, very simple. That is what we are trying to do in the region through the regional development plan with emphasis on the educational system. If you are interested in more details, you can participate in we are now updating the regional plan, so sectoral consultations are ongoing. You can provide inputs. The regional development plan is also available in our website. If you want hard copy, just tell us and we will provide you copies of the updated regional development plan. So again, thank you very much, and I hope you attain the objectives of this summit.
Iskandor for the brief yet very comprehensive updates. So analyzing the updates of Attorney Iskandor, What do you think is the message? So all stakeholders are called upon to help and provide full support and cooperation in the implementation of the plan. Specifically, as mentioned by Attorney Escandor, the local government units, the national line agencies, the regional institutions, the private sector and civil society. Harmonize your plans, programs and activities with the regional development plan. Let us all be responsive to the needs of the region to facilitate the realization of the goals in the RDP, making the most livable region in the Philippines. So before we move on to the next speaker, we'd like to give award the flag of appreciation to Attorney Romeo C. Escandor. So may we call Director Bernal, Dr. Laraya, our able, handsome Director of the Commission. To Attorney Romeo C. Escandor, NEDA Regional Director and RDC Secretariat, for sharing the Bicol Regional Development Plan 2011-2016 to the regional leaders of higher education, technical and vocational education, and the basic education sectors in Bicol during the 2nd Regional Higher Education Summit 2013 with the theme, Engaging Higher Education Towards Sustainable Development and Inclusive Growth in the Bicol region. This 14th day of November 2013 at Oriental Hotel, Legazpi City, during the Regional Higher Education Summit 2013. Signed, Dr. Freddie P. Bernal, Chair Regional 5 Director, Lea Patria Mata Laraya, PhD, BFSE, and BU President. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So let's move on. Another answer person will update and guide us. She is tasked to present the topic, Promoting Bicol Competitiveness. Her long years of immersion in various business, both locally and abroad, has equipped her with the necessary faculties that serve her well in the fulfillment of her enormous task as the First Lady President of the premier business organization, the Metro Naga Chamber of Commerce and Industry, an active partner of the government in the fulfillment of its goals toward the improvement of the business sector, an entrepreneur by profession and an educator at heart, a licensed teacher. She's proud to claim that being her a mother is what defines her best. She is married and blessed with 3 adolescent kids. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome a lady educator, business leader, society prime mover and shaker, living life with a vision of making a difference. Miss Clarine P. Tobias, President, Metro Naga Chamber of Commerce.
Maray na hapon po. Good afternoon. Akala ko sasabihin mo, Ma'am Gabriela Silang. This is actually my first time to speak in front of educators like me, because the last time I spoke to a big audience was abroad, and my audience was Prime Minister, mga sheikh, King of Saudi Arabia, when we won as one of the finalists, beating 63 chambers all over the world. And I was the youngest, pero ako po ang pinakamakapal mukha. Kaya okay man, at least we've made it. As much as I would like to acknowledge everyone, I think all of us, if not most of us, are educators, and our profession is the noblest. So I would just like to acknowledge Dr. Gloria Mercado, the Vice President for Academic Affairs for Development Academy of the Philippines, Ma'am Faye, Sir Conrad, Sir Director Landy, Attorney Romy, Sir Freddy, and all the heads of the colleges and universities. Siguro po this morning I was informed that competitiveness. The word competitiveness is widely used, especially it has been repeatedly mentioned by Dr. Licuanan. Kita po baga ang competitiveness. Ako, kang aki pa po ako, competitive ako. Especially, some of my friends knew me since I was in grade school in Santa Isabel and high school also in Santa Isabel, and during my college days in UP, gusto ko po perme akong #1. But mas marayman pala ang competitive ka because it can bring out the best in you. So for this afternoon, I will be presenting 30 slides. Hopefully, I can finish it in 20 minutes. And my talking points will be as follows. Okay, the scope of my presentation will be the legal basis of NCC creation, the vision and mission, status of Philippine competitiveness, performance of education, what has been done, and our next step. Okay, for the legal basis, the National Competitiveness Council was created on October 2006 as a public-private task force on Philippine competitiveness by virtue of Presidential Executive Order number 571. It was amended to Executive Order number 44, the present administration, to address the improvement of the country's competitiveness from the bottom third of competitiveness rankings to the top third by 2016. Okay. For the organizational structure, okay, it is composed of the DTI Secretary, Domingo, which belongs to the public sector, and co-chairperson, Mr. Guillermo Luz from the private sectors. Well, we have this, the NCC focuses on the 12 areas expected to improve the country's competitiveness, namely education and human resource development, anti-corruption, performance governance system, ICT governance, infrastructure, judicial reform, streamlined business permits and licensing system, agri-trade logistics, transparency in budget delivery, power and energy, and the Philippine Registry, Customs, National Single Window. Each of the focused area is handled by working groups with members coming from both the public and the private sectors, primarily those agencies and offices already involved in some of the priority projects, as well as foreign and local chamber of commerce and various industry associations. The NCC works closely with the Anti-Red Tape Task Force and the Philippine Development Forum in the implementation of the short and long-term goals. But according to our Vice Chair, Bill Luz, the committee should be 50% coming from the private sector and 50% should be from the public. So ano po, hati tayo ng members. Okay. The vision, NCC vision, is to promote a more competitive Philippines and instill a culture of excellence through public-private sector collaboration as a means to reduce poverty through inclusive growth. The NCC is tasked to build, next slide please, up long-term competitiveness of the country through policy reforms, implementation of projects, institution building, performance monitoring, and goal setting. The competitiveness performance of the Philippines in 2013 are as follows. The Philippines climbed 6 notches in a World Economic Forum survey that ranks countries based on how competitive they are in attracting business. The IFC, Ease of Doing Business, it measures the ease or difficulty by which one can start, operate, and wrap up a business in a particular nation. The Philippines does not have a good record at the moment as it fell 2 notches from 2012. Next is the IMD World Competitive Report. The country climbed 5 notches from 43rd place in 2012 to 38 in 2013 out of 60 economies. and is the biggest gainer among Association of Southeast Asian countries. The growth in GRDP was one of the factors that contributed to this positive performance of the country. Okay. The Philippines improved its ranking in 2012 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. We now rank 118 from 129 out of 174 countries measured in the CPI, or a jump by 11 notches. The Philippines passed the indicator set by Millennium Challenge Corporation on the implementation of actions plan toward policy improvement process. It is also interesting to note that within the ASEAN, the Philippines is at the bottom 95th of the barrel, trailing Cambodia on the 87th, Laos on the 81st, Indonesia 78, Vietnam 69. The country brand index is how a country is perceived by the rest of the world in terms of tourism and global trade, as well as its cultural and democratic relations with other countries. Comparing the Philippines with other ASEAN countries under the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Index, here's the ranking. So, out of 148 countries in 2011, we are 175th, 2012 65th, 2013 59. But we are number 6 compared to other ASEAN countries. 6 po out of 10. For IFC, comparing the Philippines with other ASEAN countries under the International Finance Corporation Ease of Doing Business, our ranking is, we are the second to the last, 138 po out of 185 economy. So 136 noong 2012, 134 2011, 144 2010, and 2009 140. While it's true, we are improving, but we still have to move faster. Okay. Comparing the Philippines with other ASEAN countries, next slide please. Under the International Institute of Management Development, our ranking is number 4. So we have from 2011, we are 41st, 2012, 43rd, 2013, 38. But we have a 5th climb, positive 5 change in 2013. But the other ASEAN countries not included in the report are Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam. Okay. Comparing the Philippines with other ASEAN countries for corruption perception under the Transparency International, here is our ranking. So 2012, 118, 2011, 129. Nasa middle din po ang Pilipinas. Okay. For the lowest ranking Philippine indicators, okay, those who are written in red ink are those who are related to education. Pag nag-100 po tayo, mababa na tayo niyan. So the quality of scientific research institutions, pang 102. Net primary education enrollment, 101. That is out of 148 countries. And also quality for math and science education, 98. And capacity for innovation, 86th. So what is our target? Our target for the World WEF Global Competitiveness Report should be number 30 or higher by 2016 from 59. Ito pong present, number 59 tayo. So 3 years more to go, kailangan number 30 tayo. IFC Doing Business Survey, number 50 or higher by 2016 from 138 today, this year. IMD World Economic Competitive Report, number 20 or higher by 2016 from number 28. And Future Brand Country Brand Index, number 30 or higher from negative 17. Yung po ang tatrabahuhin natin. Now, for the working group on education and human resource development, what is our principle? The people are the single biggest resource advantage that will propel and sustain the country's competitiveness. And our mission statement is to develop a globally competitive workforce by improving basic, secondary, tertiary, and vocational education in partnership with the private sector that would prepare current and future generation find livelihood opportunities as well as high-value jobs in workplace. Now here's the challenge. To develop a globally competent workforce capable of providing quality products and services. Next slide, please. So, under the World Economic Forum, there are 12 pillars of competitiveness, and 2 of these are related to education. Note po ang the 4th and the 5th pillars. 4th is higher education training, -3 po tayo. And the 5th pillar is the higher education and training. -3 and +2, yun. So yun po ang related sa education. So let me present to you, next slide please. Let me present to you some indicators on education. Ito na po tayo. And the ranking of the Philippines for each indicator vis-a-vis other ASEAN countries. For primary education net enrollment, we rank 6th. For secondary education gross enrollment, we rank 3. For tertiary education gross enrollment, rank 4. For quality education system, rank 5. For quality of math and science education, rank 8 among 8 countries. Sa huli po tayo. For internet access in schools, we rank 7. For capacity, next please. For capacity innovation and quality of scientific research and institution, rank 8. And for university industry collaboration in research and development, rank 6. Okay, this table presents the performance of the Philippine education from 2012 to 2013. In the red are the indicators where we fell from 2012. So yun po sa health and primary education, bumaba tayo. From 92, naging 96th place. And also primary education enrollment from 81st to 108th. Secondary enrollment, 81st to 83rd. Tertiary education enrollment, 75th to 81. And also the internet access in school, from 73rd to 74th place. And the utility patents granted million population from 68 to 84. What are the constraints for competitive industry? Ito po. Mismatch of jobs and skills. Lack of training and technology. Lack of integrated approach to human resource policies. Poor health and working condition. And the damaged value systems. What has been done so far? Well, we have adopted a multi-sectoral approach to improve English, science, and math proficiencies. We have worked closely with DepEd, Philippine Business and Education, and other public and private sector stakeholders on enhancing basic education track from the current 10 years to 11 years. Interfaced with the public, CHED, DOLE, TESDA, and private agencies to address mismatch in skills and labor market demands. We continually address the needs for curriculum development, OJT training, and placement for emerging fields of cyber services, semiconductors, electronics, medical tourism, and HRM. We also pursued various OJT or dual tech projects, certified achievements of good governance, target in 11 priority professions governed by PRC, like accountancy, nursing, professional teachers, and medicine. So moving forward, we are going to look into the following. First, you have to continue consultation and dialogue between the public and the private sectors to promote the teaching profession as a career of choice for our young people. And also to explore options to increase recruitments of more teachers trained in English, science, and math, and to revisit the existing qualification required of the applicants. Identify the required support from the private sectors to enhance basic education track, adding an extra in basic education of a total of 11 years, and pursue efforts in marketing skills with labor market needs, with the on-the-job training or dual-tech approach through DOLE and TESDA and in coordination with CHED, and concerned private sector and industry association. So that will be the end of my slide, and I think we have to act and work together. Next year, I will sit as the incoming or the founding president of the Employers Confederation of the Philippines for Naga and Camarines Sur, and hopefully for Bicol kasi wala pa pong elected sa iba. But I think we have to work really faster kasi po, pag naghina-hina tayo, nagtatrabaho yung ibang bansa. And we cannot do this alone. Yung tama yung sinasabi natin that we have to consult with one another. We have to create survey. Like for example, you ask the industries, what are the jobs that are available? Then probably all those employers can all be, the people from the academe or the SUCs can offer these courses for them. Para po, after that, after finishing TechVoc or degree, may trabaho kaagad sila. So hopefully, we could work together and help one another for a competitive education for the Philippines. Thank you and good afternoon.
Of producing quality products and services. May we call once again Director Bernal to be assisted by Dr. Binoya Mamseli, Council, Commission on Higher Education, and the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education. 2. Clarin P. Tobias, President, Metro Naga Chamber of Commerce, for sharing the Bicol Competitiveness Plan to regional leaders of higher education, technical and vocational education, and the basic education sectors in Bicol during the 2nd Regional Higher Education Summit 2013 with the theme Engaging Higher Education Towards Sustainable Development and Inclusive Growth in the Bicol Region. Given this 14th day of November 2013 at Oriental Hotel, Legazpi City, during the Regional Higher Education Summit 2013. Signed, Attorney Romeo C. Escandor, the Regional Director and RDC Secretariat, Pelea Patre M. Lauraya, PhD, Bicol Foundation Higher Education and Bicol University President, and Dr. Freddie T. Bernal, CHED Region 5 Director. Source person is currently the Senior Vice President and Dean of the Development Academy of the Philippines Graduate School of Public and Development Management. She was a Hunt Fund Fellow for Women in Security at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, Howard University. She received her PhD at the National San Yat-sen University, preceded by her master's degree from the National Defense College of the Philippines and the University of San Carlos, Cebu City. She served as the chairperson of the Management Committee of the Executive Development Program for State Universities and Colleges, which is a major component of the Philippine Higher Education Reform Agenda and the centerpiece program of the Aquino administration. She is an expert in developing committed, competent, responsive public development manager, a leader who can solve diverse development scenario of creative ways of managing change and reforming institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm referring to G. Mercado.
Maraming salamat. Pag ini-introduce ako ng gano'n, nininervyos ako. But this is actually home for me. I was a teenager. We were probably 19 years old when we were running around Bicol. Deathless, parang di kami natatakot because we were in a program called Medium and Small Scale Industries Coordinated Action Program. Kami ni Faye. For someone who's from Bicol, will be assigned in Mindanao. So Faye was assigned in Usamis, and I was assigned both in Albay and in Catanduanes. So this place is very special for a person who has so much love for this country. So good afternoon na pala, and my job this afternoon is to share to you the initiatives that the Development Academy of the Philippines has been doing insofar as higher education reform is concerned. On the onset, I'd like to admit that in 2011, we were called by the Department of Budget and Management on December 27 to receive part of the disbursement accelerated plan. So the money that DAP has been managing was actually a DAP fund. But one thing I could be very proud of, and I can stare at everyone else's eyes, is that the money that was given to DAP has been judiciously managed. In fact, the fund that was given to us of 165 billion, our marching orders was only to train 500 state university leaders and to finish the fund on 2012. And we're supposed to receive, because this program is until 2016, so we were supposed to receive a fresh fund every year of 100 million. But on 2013, we informed DBM that we still have half of the fund that was given to us on 2011. So we did not receive the fresh fund in 2013. So we will only receive that in 2014. So we did not only train 500 state university leaders, but we actually reached the level of 3,000. DAP, as you know, I think my president stood here this morning, has informed you that we are not part of the government of the GAA. We don't get subsidy, or we are not part of the government budget. We earn our own money. So with that, our program that we're currently holding is the Executive Development Program for State University and Colleges. And this program is part of the Philippine Higher Education Reform. I'm glad that I came early and I sat through the presentation on the competitiveness. Sabi ko nga kay ma'am, nakakatakot pala ang aming task as the capacity builder of SUCS kung ganon ang current situation ng ating competitiveness. Because part of the training that we're currently doing for state universities is to bring them to a level of excellence that we can be at par with other countries. So, the FAIR, as discussed earlier by the Philippine Higher Education Reform, has focused goals. This one, it includes performance excellence, strategic management, entrepreneurship, global competitiveness. Big words, and I think si Chairman Licuanan has actually translated it into something that we could all chew this morning, no, nung present niya yung kanyang context ng Philippine Higher Education Reform. And when we speak of Philippine Higher Education Reform, it is not just SUCS or the state university, but it is also the private schools. And the part of DAP, we're concentrated on the state universities. However, sa amin is we're open to partnership with private organization. In fact, we've been inspired by this foundation of Bicol that currently the modality of DAP is to build a higher education, it's a higher education consortium. So we're working with Asian Institute of Management, we're working with UP, LaSalle, and Ateneo School of Government. So by next year, this consortium would be the one managing actually this Leadership Institute. So that's the entire framework of FAIR. And this one is not only for SUKS but for the entire higher education institution. Ang DAP, since kailangan klaro yung competency build-up, hinimay din namin yung buong FAIR commitment ng gobyerno until 2016. So if you look at it, there are 3 parts: rationalization, upgrading quality, and increasing access. So it's divided by years. So kung titignan mo yung dulo, ang sinasabi dun sa dulo is that there will be 4 regional university system. May 3 na nakatapol to international standards, and many other detailed indicators. So, and putting it in a more clearer perspective, yung 3 detailed dapat ma-achieve ng Philippine higher education reform is improving efficiency, upgrade of quality, and then access. So most of our programs that we're currently running is built on these specific areas of indicators that we're going to attain by 2016. So ito naman, ang programa na tama namin, ang tawag niya is Executive Development Program for State University and Colleges. So we're training the presidents, the vice president for research, academics, administration, and extension. Ngayon, with the remaining money that we have brought it down to the middle management, which includes the director for planning, director for research, the deans, and other director for academics. So klaro that we're only doing capacity building, and then the focus again, the bottom line again, is not only capacity building, but being able to situate the state universities on the realities of the region. So even before we start the capacity building program in 2011, ang una namin ginawa was do a strat planning, wherein we asked all the NEDA directors to deliver the regional development plan so that all the plans of the state universities are also anchored on those realities of your region. Okay, so yung fund that we're currently managing is also being managed by 2 committees. One is a steering committee, which is jointly chaired by Chairman Liguanan and our President, Tony Calao. And then there are 3 representatives from the Philippine Association of State University and Colleges. And these are the President of PASOK and the Vice President for Visayas and the Vice President for Luzon. Dahil ang Presidente ng PASOK is from Mindanao. And I chair the Management Committee, which looks at the operational part of the program. Okay, so for 2012, this is how we unloaded the funds and the programs. First, we did a workshop in all the regions of the country. So we did a workshop for cascading of the results-based management performance system. We also did a workshop for the Philippine Development Plan, anchored on the regions. Then we have an international conference on academe-industry partnership. Then we ran the program for presidents, the vice president for admin, academics, and research. And then we did this program. Nung sinimulan namin yung Higher Education Development Leadership Institute, ang una niyang concept was only a Higher Education Academy. So it was only a Higher Ed Academy. However, as we went through the capacity building program, we realized that more than the reforms in the system itself is also the capacitating development of leaders of the higher education. So naging Higher Education Development and Leadership Institute siya. Ang reason nito is It's a reality that the selection of residents and officials of state universities are oftentimes affected by the choices of politicians. So since it's a reality among our needs which we cannot do away with, naisip namin that the career system would actually dampen the effect. And we will make sure that through the career system, kung sino man ang maging presidente, ang politiko na nag-i-influence ng selection is actually selecting from a pool of qualified applicants. So, part of the career system development is also looking at what are the necessary program or trainings that an aspirant president should be taking. So it should have cross-cutting themes like accountability, ethics, integrity, all these things has to be drawn up. So lahat na pipili, lahat na nakasalang for selection. So if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least we can be assured na kahit sino ang piliin dyan are qualified to be president. Hindi kagaya ngayon, no? Okay, so this is where we're focusing on. And this is also a strength of DAP. Siguro naman na-mention ni President Calao kanina na the Foreign Service Institute ay anak ng DAP yun. Higher the NIAC, National Educators Academy of the Philippines, which is under DepEd, ay anak din ng DAP. Part of the strength of DAP is building institutions. Ang ginagawa namin, from a concept, bubuuhin namin yun, we build that house, and then we run it for 2 years until we understand the nuances. Once malakas na yung institution na yun, I will spin it off. We spin off that to and mainstream it to a specific group. It depends kung kanino. For now, Headley, we're building the house for Headley and the career system. But we still don't know whether it's going to be with CHED, it's going to be with PASO, or it's going to be with another institution. We have not reached that level of the research. So, what is the Headley and the career system for? If you listen intently to the presentation of Ma'am on competitiveness kanina, klaro yung kanyang sinasabi that there is a lot of work that we have to do together, both from the private and the public sector, if we are to join the international standards. As we know, kaya binigyan ito ng fund ni, hindi ko pinahalata kay Chairman Licuana na magkaibigan kami ni Faye because the fund is coming from me, no? So I sort of protested and said, no, we cannot fund the request of President Lauraya. Kasi if we fund President Lauraya, it will open the doors for more requests from other regions, and we cannot say no. And we don't have money for everyone else to run it. So I made that position during the SteerCom. Pero sabi ni Chairman Licuana, let's fund him. Let's fund her because at least she initiated the first one. So whether there are other regions who will follow suit, then we will try to find money for them. So para mapakita ko lang sa iyo how sad the state of state universities are in terms of human resource. Kasi sa amin, kung hindi natin aayusin yung human resource, yung organizational depth ng state universities, paano sila makaka-deliver properly nung kanilang mataas na ngayon na they have very dull orders from the Philippine Higher Education Reform. So look at this. Recruitment and selection is civil service. Then, training and development, kahit sino, that is part of it. Kahit sino pwede mag-train sa state university. Private, pwede. AIM, pwede. Ateneo School of Government, pwede. LaSalle, which is the Center for Excellence in Higher Education, can also run the program. So anyone can run capacity building for higher education institution. Then their career management is NBC 461. Then they have PBB, their performance bonus, and the RBPMS. So ang dami nilang iba-ibang mechanism within their HR system. If you look at Singapore model, yung buong sistema na yan, that 7 circles is managed by one agency, the higher education board nila. Yun lang ang nag-manage ng buong sistema na yan, yung 6 na circles na yan. So, what we're proposing, we only wanted to intervene into 2. One is yung reward educational career system would be managed by the SUC career system. And the second one would be managed by the Higher Education Development and Leadership Institute. So how would this go? Ang una is that we proposed that there will be 3 tracks in the higher education in the state universities and colleges. One track would be for management. These are the people who would become presidents later on. The other track is for research and academics. And the last track would be for administrative functions. So may iba-ibang track. And we have looked at different models. We look at the Foreign Service Institute, we look at NIAC, and we look at PhilJA. Sabi namin, the career system, that there's also a Civil Service Institute and other models which we looked at in Singapore, in London, and in Malaysia. So we looked at best practices, at ito yung nakita namin, that if we are to strengthen the state universities organizationally, before they could really be called on to deliver a greater task in nation building, like access to education, quality, etc., then we have to firm up their human resource system. So iyan yung pinopose namin. So we are now in the process of sitting down with DBM na i-allow kami na himayin yung MBC 461. So yun yung nasa level kami na yun. Okay, so these are the courses we've done so far in 2012. That's why I was saying earlier that the orders to train 500, we actually trained almost 3,000 for half the price that DBM gave us. We only spent around 85 million last year, and this year using the remaining 80 million for the capacity building program. So for 2012, for 2013, this is what we have done so far, and we're the home stretch of the year. We did a workshop on asset management. They have very good land areas which can be translated into something that could give them more revenues or IGPs. We did a workshop on quality assurance for the state universities. Then we have a forum on internationalization of higher education. We also exposed our 111 state universities to very good universities. Some of them went to Harvard. There's a group now na polytechnic schools and other IT schools in Korea. The normal schools were exposed on best schools in the United States. Then the 20 poorest provinces where the schools are situated will be brought to Netherlands in the Institute of Social Science, so they would know how to converse with the community in their areas. So that's the program for 2013. So what were we doing in the EDPS program? Sa EDPS program is, ang una namin ginawa is situate the schools, the state universities, on the realities of their areas. That's why we conducted a strategic planning for state universities by regions. And then we ran the course for president, the course for vice president, the course for academics, and the course for research and extension managers. And finally, we continue to work with all our hearts in DAP, the Higher Education Development and Leadership Institute, and the career system. And we hope that with all this intervention coming from DAP, we could actually build not only strong leaders of the state universities, but strong institutions as well. So for 2014, just to make it very, very transparent to all of you, next slide. For 2011 to 2016, so this is again the framework of the Philippine higher education reform. And for 2014, we will be more focused, because for the past 2 years, what we tried to build is actually a community of state universities, a community of educators with common understanding of what is quality, what is responsibility, and what is responsibility to the regions that you are in, what is integrity in education, what is accountability, what is excellence. So we build a common knowledge or a common framework for all of them, so that when we start unloading a more purposive programs based on their leveling, ay may common na pag-iintindi ang lahat na nagtatrabaho sa state universities. So for 2014 and 2016, the focus will be more on quality assurance and also on working towards catapulting at least 3 state universities, and I hope Bicol University would be one of them. Kasi right now, wala talaga among the state university nakapasok sa radar na-identify as a quality or excellent school. So we will be more, we will be more purposive on the sub-leveling. So kung titingnan mo yung leveling ng state universities, there are only 22 leading state universities out of the 111. And there are 3, level 3 is 33. Tapos sa amin, halos pareho na yung 1 and 2. So when we do capacity building, pinagsasama namin yung 1 and 2. So it's around 55 for level 1 and 2. Then 33 for level 3 and 22 for the leading schools. So with that, ang programa natin for next year would be more purposive on 3 stratification of 3 leveling of the SUCs, 22 leading SUCs, 33 performing SUCs, and 55 developing SUCs. And these are the programs that you see on the board that we will be running. But that's open to further consultation with our SUC presidents and others, higher ed leaders. So that's just the entire activities that we have. So I would like to believe that while DAP is working only with state university and colleges, whatever documents that we have, whatever programs that we have, is accessible to private higher education institutions. In fact, we're running an 18-month program called Executive Doctorate in Education and Leadership. We have people from Bicol studying with us, and we call it EDEL program, Educational EDEL, for educational for EDEL. But anyway, it's a program that we're running and it's being managed by Dr. Morato. The program is essentially also within the EDPS program that we're running. So again, thank you, and I am very proud to be part of this program. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the update. So, ma'am is just reminding all of us here, leaders and facilitators of learning, that leaders are pillars of hope and bastions of strength in any organization. So it is in this vision that higher education institutions should gear their programs and activities, develop priority development agenda, should be consistent with the roadmap for higher education. Once again, ma'am, thank you very much. Sir, Director Bernal and Dr. Binoya, awarding a plaque of appreciation. Philippine Commission on Higher Education and the Bicol Foundation for Higher Education award this plaque of appreciation to Dr. Gloria D. Mercado for her generous support and sharing of her expertise in the first Regional Higher Education Summit held on November 14-15, 2013 at Oriental Hotel, Legazpi City that significantly contributed to the success of the activity. Given this 15th day of November 2013 at Oriental Hotel, Legazpi City. Signed, Attorney Romeo C. Escandor, NEDA Regional Director and RDC Secretariat, Filea Patria M. Lauraya, Bicol Foundation Higher Education and BU President, the Director Freddy T. Bernal, CHED Region 5. Thank you, thank you. Morning, we have the standard. We have the reality. So we need pleasure principle. So ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome an icebreaker coming from the Bicol University Magayon Dance Troupe. To break out into small groups for the workshop parallel session per cluster, named